What happens when the most jealous player in the WNBA finally faces the consequences of her actions? Aja Wilson spent months undermining Caitlin Clark's historic rookie and sophomore seasons, claiming she deserved the Nike shoe more than Clark and disparaging every achievement Clark earned. Now, while Caitlin Clark prepares for Team USA camp alongside rising stars like Aaliyah Boston and Paige Bueckers, Wilson is watching from the sidelines. The player who thought she could tear down women's basketball's biggest star has discovered that attacking the face of the sport has serious consequences. She was kicked out of Team USA. Before we break it down, let me know in the comments below if you think Team USA made the right decision in letting go of Aja Wilson. USA Basketball just handed Caitlin Clark the keys to the future of women's basketball. Her invitation to the elite Duke training camp isn't just another roster spot, it's the official coronation ceremony for the next era of Team USA dominance. When you get that call to join Team USA, you are not just being evaluated anymore, you are being anointed. The roster at Duke reads like a fantasy draft of basketball's brightest stars. Paige Bueckers brings her championship pedigree from college. Aaliyah Boston arrives fresh off her dominant WNBA season with the Indiana Fever, proving she can play at the highest level alongside Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese adds her rebounding prowess and competitive fire. Juju Watkins represents the next wave of talent coming through the college ranks. But here is what makes this camp different. Every single one of these players complements Caitlin Clark's unique skill set perfectly. Sue Bird's leadership role in this program tells you everything about where USA basketball is heading. They didn't bring back Sue to maintain the old guard traditions. They brought her in to bridge the gap between what Team USA used to be and what it needs to become. Bird understands pace and space basketball better than almost anyone who's ever played the game. She recognizes that Caitlin Clark's style isn't just effective, it's the future of international competition. USA Basketball completely redesigned their offensive system around speed and spacing. Gone are the days of grinding out possessions in the half-court. The new Team USA wants to push tempo, create open looks from three-point range, and let their most dynamic playmaker orchestrate the offense. That playmaker happens to be Caitlin Clark. Every drill they run at Duke focuses on transition basketball, ball movement, and creating advantages through pace. Clark has spent 2 years perfecting exactly these skills in the WNBA. Behind closed doors, coaches are already building their 2026 World Cup rotation with Clark as the primary floor general. They are not thinking about whether she can handle the responsibility. They are planning how to maximize her impact on the international stage. The conversations are not about if Clark will make the team anymore. They are about how many minutes she will play and which lineups work best around her skill set. This timeline gives Clark something most Team USA rookies never get: time to develop genuine chemistry with her international teammates. 2 full years before the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles means hundreds of practices, multiple exhibition games, and plenty of opportunities to build the kind of trust that wins gold medals. Clark will not be learning the system on the fly. She will be running it by the time competition begins. Basketball insiders expect Clark to bypass the traditional veteran hierarchy system completely. Usually, newcomers to Team USA spend their first cycle learning from the bench. Not Clark. Her combination of skills, leadership ability, and marketability makes her too valuable to waste on the sideline. She will earn meaningful minutes from day one, potentially even a starting role depending on how quickly she adapts to the international game. The camp structure focuses on evaluation and chemistry building rather than intense competition. Clark thrives in these environments where basketball IQ and court vision matter more than raw athleticism. She has spent 2 years proving she can elevate teammates' games while making smart decisions under pressure. Those exact qualities translate perfectly to international basketball. Team USA is making a generational shift, and Clark sits at the center of that transition. The old guard built their success on defense and rebounding. This new era will win through offensive creativity and pace. Clark doesn't just fit this vision, she embodies it completely. While Clark prepares to represent her country at the highest level, Arja Wilson sits at home watching the sport evolve without her. The player who spent months trying to tear down Clark's achievements now faces the reality of being left behind. Team USA moved forward, and Wilson's toxic behavior earned her a front-row seat to watch from the outside. You know what happens when jealousy takes over a player's mind? They start making moves that destroy their own career. Arja Wilson spent months launching calculated attacks against Caitlin Clark, thinking she could tear down the superstar who was capturing hearts across America. Wilson's I Have a Shoe Too campaign exposed her deepest insecurities about Clark's Nike dominance. While Clark was breaking attendance records and selling out arenas, Wilson was on social media desperately trying to remind people that she also had a sneaker deal. The campaign felt forced and awkward. Fans could see right through it. Wilson wasn't celebrating her own achievements, she was begging for attention that naturally flowed to Clark. The Las Vegas star publicly questioned every single milestone Clark reached during her rookie season. When Clark set assist records, Wilson downplayed them. When Clark earned Rookie of the Year honors, Wilson suggested the voting was flawed. When Clark's jersey became the best-selling WNBA merchandise of all time, Wilson complained about marketing unfairness. She could not let Clark have one moment of recognition without inserting herself into the conversation. Wilson even made the bold claim that she earns the same speaking fees as Clark at corporate events. The statement was laughable to anyone following the business side of women's basketball. Major corporations were lining up to book Clark for their events. Fortune 500 companies were paying premium rates to have Clark speak at their conferences. Wilson's speaking calendar looked nothing like Clark's packed schedule. Did any company publicly announce they had booked Arja Wilson for a major corporate event? Companies were bragging about securing Clark appearances left and right. Her "what is delayed is not denied" social media campaign became the most transparent attempt to ride Clark's coattails that basketball fans had ever witnessed. Wilson posted cryptic messages about her time coming while Clark was breaking television ratings records. The timing was not coincidental. Every Wilson post seemed to coincide with major Clark news cycles. She was trying to redirect Clark's momentum toward herself, but fans saw through the strategy completely. Basketball insiders watched Wilson's behavior with growing alarm. As she repeatedly attacked the very person bringing unprecedented attention to women's basketball, Clark was drawing new fans to the sport every single game. Television ratings were soaring because of Clark's appeal. Merchandise sales were breaking records. Wilson was criticizing the player who was lifting the entire league's profile. Each jealous outburst only made the gap between Wilson's declining relevance and Clark's meteoric rise more obvious. While Clark was appearing on national magazine covers, Wilson was tweeting complaints about media coverage. While Clark was signing multi-million-dollar endorsement deals, Wilson was questioning why she was not getting the same opportunities. The contrast could not have been starker. Wilson's attacks went beyond professional jealousy into personal territory when she suggested that Clark's Time Magazine Athlete of the Year award was influenced by race rather than merit. The comment revealed how desperate Wilson had become to diminish Clark's achievements. She was willing to inject divisive topics into basketball conversations just to take attention away from Clark's success. The veteran player seemed unable to celebrate the growth of women's basketball without making it about herself. When the league gained new sponsors because of Clark's popularity, Wilson complained about unequal treatment. When attendance numbers reached historic highs at Clark's games, Wilson questioned whether the fan support was authentic. She was actively working against the sport's best interests out of pure jealousy. Wilson's campaign backfired spectacularly, damaging her reputation with fans who loved watching Clark play, sponsors who wanted to associate with positive athletes, and USA basketball officials who were building the program's future. Every attack on Clark reflected poorly on Wilson's character and professionalism. She went from being a respected veteran to becoming known as the player who could not handle another athlete's success. This jealousy-driven behavior set the stage for USA basketball's decision to move forward without Wilson's toxic influence, choosing instead to build around the player she had spent so much time trying to tear down. Sometimes one business deal reveals the true power structure of an entire sport. When Nike offered Caitlin Clark an 8-year, $28 million deal, it sent shockwaves through the WNBA establishment and exposed just how far ahead Clark had moved beyond her peers in marketability and global appeal. Wilson's immediate reaction was not congratulations for a fellow player landing a historic contract. Instead, she publicly complained about her own delayed shoe launch. She posted passive-aggressive messages about patience and timing. Wilson could not hide her frustration that a rookie had secured the kind of deal she had been chasing for years. Her response revealed everything about her mindset. She treated Clark's success as a personal attack rather than a win for women's basketball. Clark's Kobe-branded sneakers sold out in minutes across multiple retailers, while Wilson's Nike push struggled to gain meaningful traction in the market. Fans camped out online waiting for Clark's shoe drop. Sneaker resellers flipped Clark's shoes for double the retail price. Wilson's releases barely registered on social media. The contrast was brutal and undeniable. One player had captured the imagination of basketball fans worldwide, while the other could not generate buzz despite years of trying. What? The numbers exposed the massive gap between their endorsement values. Clark commanded premium rates for appearances, endorsements, and partnerships despite being new to professional basketball. Wilson had spent years building her resume, winning championships and earning individual accolades, yet her market value remained a fraction of Clark's. Corporate sponsors were willing to pay exponentially more to associate their brands with Clark than with Wilson. Wilson's attempts to claim equal status only highlighted how far behind she really was in marketability. She posted about her own endorsement deals trying to match Clark's energy. She shared behind-the-scenes content from her Nike shoots, hoping to generate similar engagement. The harder Wilson tried to compete with Clark's business success, the more obvious it became that she was playing in a completely different league. Nike executives quietly shifted their entire women's basketball marketing strategy around Caitlin Clark's global appeal. The company realized they had discovered something special, a player who transcended basketball demographics. Clark attracted fans who had never watched women's basketball before. She brought in viewers who typically followed other sports. Nike restructured their women's division to maximize Clark's impact across multiple product lines and marketing campaigns. Corporate America took notice of Clark's influence in ways A'ja Wilson had never experienced. Major brands were reaching out to Clark's representatives asking about partnership opportunities. Television networks were bidding for rights to broadcast her games. Merchandise companies were creating entire product lines around her brand. Wilson watched from the sidelines as the business world embraced Clark with unprecedented enthusiasm. Forbes recognized Clark's business impact by featuring her in major articles about sports marketing and athlete endorsements. Financial publications were analyzing Clark's economic effect on the WNBA and women's basketball generally. Business schools were using Clark as a case study in athlete branding and market penetration. Wilson's business profile remained limited to basketball publications and regional coverage. The Nike deal proved Clark had transcended basketball to become a global sports icon who could drive consumer behavior and influence purchasing decisions. Retailers were stocking Clark merchandise in prime locations. International markets were demanding Clark-branded products. Corporate executives were name-dropping Clark in quarterly earnings calls to explain revenue increases. Wilson found herself scrambling for relevance as the business world moved around her toward Clark. Sponsors who had previously shown interest in Wilson were redirecting their budgets toward Clark partnerships. Media opportunities that Wilson had counted on were shifting to accommodate Clark's schedule and priorities. The marketplace had spoken clearly about which player represented the future of women's basketball. This market reality became impossible for USA Basketball to ignore when making their roster decisions. Organizations follow the money and the attention. Clark brought both in unprecedented amounts, while Wilson's jealous behavior had damaged her standing with key decision-makers throughout the basketball world. A'ja Wilson thought she could tear down Caitlin Clark and claim her throne. But jealousy has a way of destroying the person who harbors it. Wilson's months of attacks backfired completely. Her social media campaigns fell flat. Her attempts to match Clark's business success exposed how far behind she really was. Now Wilson watches from home while Clark prepares for Team USA camp alongside rising stars like Aaliyah Boston, and Paige Beakers. Clark continues rising to new heights while Wilson faces the consequences of attacking the face of women's basketball. The 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics belong to Clark's generation. Wilson will not be part of that story. Let me know in the comments below if you think Team USA made the right decision to let go of A'ja Wilson.